Middle East reached its most dangerous phase in the past few decades following coordinated US-Israel attacks, and Iran has retaliated in due measure by attacking various points, various places, various US military bases in the Gulf countries. So now there are a lot of things to discuss. What is happening? There's a lot of data, but we'll try to be precise and focus on the important parts. So, what we are essentially going to do is first, we are going to discuss the geography, which is the most interesting aspect, the locations which are in the current affairs, which are in the news, not just for the sake of exams, because the names are important as such. Whenever they say different region, whenever they talk about Abu Dhabi, whenever they talk about UAE, Qatar, so we fail to imagine, we just convolute or combine them together and mix them up. So I'm going to clear such differences. Then we are going to discuss in brief the history, that is what all led to this chaos in brief. Then we are going to discuss about the political structure and governance in Iran. Then we are going to discuss about the geopolitical implications on India and world and what's in store in the future. So first we discuss, to make it more interactive, more interesting, first we discuss the important places or the places which have been targeted. First we'll discuss the places in Iran which were targeted by the coordinated US-Israel strikes under the Operation Epic Fury. So here we go. So I'll also explain what is the difference between the Arab states, what is the difference and what do you mean by Middle East, what do you mean by Gulf countries. So the difference will be clear. So in Iran, capitalist Tehran. So the leadership, the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, was eliminated here. His compound was here. Then near this, there are places like Karaj. Then there is the Persian military complex also. Isfahan. This is a very important province of Iran because it hosts cities like Natanz and Fordo, which are the hotspots of uranium enrichment and alleged production of nuclear weapons. Isfahan in itself is a center for research on ballistic missiles. Then, as we go towards the south, we have Shiraz. These are also the names of the provinces. Shiraz, Bandar Abbas, which is an important port. Recently, Minab was hit. It was in the news. Why? Because the strikes, the US-Israeli strikes, they hit a school where around 50 people lost their lives. Then here just for, it is not mentioned, but here there is a port in which India also has stakes. It is the Chabahar port. This is the Sistan Balochistan province of Iran. So here this port is important. Then as we go towards the west, this Bushehr, this was also a place which was targeted. Then we have talked about Isfahan. Qom is a very important theological center for Shia Islamic studies. It is only second to Najd. In fact, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was a scholar here from this place. Then Karmanshah, this was also attacked. Then we have Tabriz. So these are the important places which have been in news and the site of US-Israeli joint attacks. Now, obviously, Iran was not going to stay quiet. We are going to discuss why Iran actually retaliated. What is Iran's purpose in that? First of all, it knows that it does not want to exactly prolong the war. It wants to pose the deterrent, because earlier the development of nuclear weapons or whatever deterrent that Iran provided did not work. But now it has started attacking the Gulf states, the Gulf countries, because Iran wants that, boss, you are my friends, you are part of the Islamic world, you are not supposed to host US military bases because it is attacking our territory. Okay. And further, we'll also discuss the importance of the Strait of Hormuz, which the IRGC has communicated that it is going to block. So now Iran, when it retaliated, so the important places which were in news, obviously, because Dubai is a hotspot. So here you can see this palm-shaped structure. So here you can see the Palm Jumeirah, this Palm, the five-star luxury hotel. Then we have the Jabal Ali port also here, the Jabal Ali power plant, Jabal Ali port. So this was also affected by, if not missile hits directly, then the the shrapnel or the debris from the missile hits. Then obviously the Dubai airport, Dubai airport was hit, was affected. The flights were affected. Okay, the Jabal Ali. Then we are going to discuss some names of the military bases also. I'll just, so there is an Al Dafra air base in Abu Dhabi. I was talking about explaining to you the difference. You have to realize that this entire territory, this is the UAE. This is part of Oman. Okay, so this black boundary adjacent to this Persian Gulf, it is the UAE territory. UAE is a combination of 7 emirates. Okay, out of which one is Dubai. Its capital is Dubai city. One is Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is the capital city of that emirate, and Abu Dhabi is also the capital of UAE. Okay. Then we have provinces like Sharjah also. You might have heard the famous cricket stadium. India-Pakistan matches were held. Okay. Then in Oman, this Oman port of Dukm was targeted. Then here we have talked about the Al Dhafra air base in Abu Dhabi. Then Qatar. In Qatar, they have the military, US military has the Al Udeid air base, and also you might have heard of this Ras Laffan. This Ras Laffan is actually an LNG terminal operated by Qatar Energy. So this was also shut down. Then we have Bahrain. So in Bahrain, again, it is the host or the headquarters of the US Fifth Fleet. Then you might have heard of this Ras Tanura. This is actually a refinery, oil refinery plant owned by the Saudi Aramco company. You might have heard of that. Then there were, this is Riyadh. So US embassy in Riyadh was also hit. Fine. Then Kuwait military base in Kuwait is Ali Al Salem. So that was also targeted. Then we come to Iraq. Iraq, this is the Erbil area. So Erbil Air Base, US Air Base. But news reports say that the strikes were intercepted before they hit the base. Then in Jordan, Jordan here is a US base, Tawafuf Al Salti base. Then Tel Aviv in Israel. So continuously Israel is under the barrage of missiles from Iran. Then how the US is helping exactly, because US is quite far off, so it has deployed its aircraft carriers and destroyers in these areas. So they provide the missile, the logistics and the air force capabilities which can carry out strikes, airstrikes deep into the heart of Iran. So you might have heard of USS Gerald R. Ford. So it is a nuclear powered aircraft carrier. So it is in the Mediterranean Sea on the coast of Israel. Then here in the Arabian Sea, there is also another aircraft carrier, USS Abraham Lincoln. So these two have been in news and discussed widely, and they have been coordinating attacks along with Israel to attack Iran. Okay, now important thing, Strait of Hormuz. You might have heard again, what is the Strait of Hormuz, why it is important, oil supplies will be hit. First of all, we'll discuss what is this Persian Gulf. Okay, Persian denotes the region. This area, there was a Persian Empire earlier. So this area, this water body is the prefix is Persian. What is a gulf? A gulf in geography is an is a body of water which extends deep into the land. Okay, and with a narrow opening. So this is the definition of the gulf. So that is why it is bordering the erstwhile Persian area and gulf because of its definition. Then similarly, Gulf of Oman. This again a water body extending into the land and then opening out into the greater Arabian Sea. So this over named over Oman, Gulf of Oman. Then this is strait. What is a strait? Strait is a natural waterway which connects two larger water bodies. In this case, the Strait of Hormuz. Hormuz is also a place. So Strait of Hormuz is kind of connecting Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman, and it is responsible for carrying 20% of the world's crude oil transport supply. So that is why it is very important. Iran is close to it, so whenever the IRGC or the military forces or the leaders of Iran they want, they can choke this point, and then it will have chain impact, cataclysmic impacts. Okay, so this was the major locations which I wanted to discuss. Now, so first of all, we are going to discuss what exactly is meant by Arab. So Arab, first of all, is not equal to Muslims. Okay, we can say majority of the Arabs they follow the Islamic religion, but they follow other religions like Christianity as well. Okay, now Arab is more of it defines the ethnicity, the tribal connection, the culture, the language, Arabic, the territory. Okay. So this Arab identity, it predates the Abrahamic religions like Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Okay. So basically, Arab, if we say, so they comprise of the North African countries and some countries of West Asia. So if we start marking the countries, we have the Mauritania, we have Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Sudan, Djibouti, Somalia, and there is a small country here, island nation of Comoros. So 10 countries here. And if we come, so this is the Egyptian part. When we come to Asia, so we have all the countries of the Gulf of the Peninsula. So this is Yemen, this is Oman, then we have UAE, we have Qatar, we have Bahrain, we have Saudi Arabia, then we have Palestine, we have Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Kuwait. So these are the country of the Arab world. Okay, majority religion followed by these countries is the Islam. Now, when we discuss about the Middle East, so Middle East is a geographical notation. Basically, it connotes the western and southwestern part of Asia. So in Middle East, what we have is sometimes Egypt is included. Then we have the this Yemen, Oman. Then we have this UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. Then Saudi Arabia, Israel. Israel is not Arab. It's not considered an Arab state, but it is part of Middle East because of geographical location. Then Palestine. Then Lebanon. Then Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Iran as well. Turkey. Cyprus is sometimes included in the Middle East. Kuwait also. So this is the Middle East. Okay, so you can see Iran is not part of the Arab world. Okay, now it is an Islamic theocratic state, Islamic Republic of Iran. Here the identity of this yellow portion, and here the yellow portion, the identity is Arabic. Here, Iran, the primary identity is Persian. Okay. All Persians are Iranians, but all Iranians are not Persians. Fine. Okay. Now, since we are basically talking about what is the Gulf, we have already discussed that this is the Persian Gulf, this is Strait of Hormuz. So the most of the countries, the adjoining the Persian Gulf, they are known as the Gulf countries. So we have Saudi Arabia, we have Saudi Arabia, then we have Oman, we have UAE, we have Qatar, we have Bahrain, we have Kuwait, and we have Iraq. Iraq is sometimes included, sometimes not included, but this major six countries, Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, then Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait. Okay, so here where these are the countries where the major portion of the Indian diaspora works and resides. That is why it is of immense concern. Now we may move on to, so this is pictures of the aircraft carriers, US aircraft carriers. Okay, a brief history. Okay, so initially prior to 1979, Israel and Iran can be considered to be friends. So why was that? Because when Israel was founded in 1948, this is the first president. This is the first leader of Israel, Prime Minister David Ben Gurion. Okay, this is the Shah of the Pahlavi dynasty. So Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. Okay, so prior to the Islamic Revolution of 1979, which established the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Iran was under the control of the Pahlavi dynasty. So at that time, Iran and Israel had cordial relationships. They coordinated in field of military. They coordinated or exchanged oil and other services. Strategic alignment was there. They also supported US at the time of the Soviet era or during the Cold War. Okay, so this was going on. He aimed at westernization, introducing reforms. Okay, and at that point, there was no state religion. Like at today's time, Iran is a theocratic state. It proclaims that Islam is the state religion. There was no such opposition there. But because of, again, suppression of dissent, then oppression of freedom, then the hereditary or only, king and prince, and further the rule was extended down the family. So people became discontent. Revolts they started occurring. Some reforms, such as the White Revolution, not associated with the Indian White Revolution. So here there were a bunch of reforms initiated by the Shah at that time. Then the hereditary nature. Then there was the anti-tobacco movement because he has had started giving concessions to the British people. Then there was a secret police service which suppressed and curbed dissent, known as Savak. So what happened exactly is that the Shia mosques were the only place left where people could debate freely without any fear. Okay, they could assemble there. So the mosque became one of the focal points for the upcoming or impending revolution which took place in 1979. So this was one of the focal points, and this dissent and came place, and finally in 1979 the first supreme leader, Ruhollah Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, came to power. Okay, initially what happened was, now you can, why I discussed initially the difference between Arab, Middle East, and all these religions. Because initially, what happened was the found when Iran, the post World Wars, post the two World Wars, the Western powers like Britain, they had promised an Arab land or Arab nation for that. But in that place, 1948, Israel was founded, which was a Jewish state. So Jews, Israel was not. It was not Jewish versus Muslim. It was Israel versus Arab. Okay, so all these Arab countries which we discussed right now, they were this Egypt, all these bordering countries, Saudi Arabia, they posed a grave threat towards the foundation of Israel and fought in various Arab Israeli wars, if you remember. The term is Arab Israeli War. So at that time, also, what Israel was trying to do is it followed the periphery doctrine, according to which, because it knew that the Arab states were not going to support Israel, so instead it started to maintain or gain support, obtain support of the Middle Eastern countries which were not part of Arab. So this countries around it which was not part of Arab world, like we can say Ethiopia. Okay, Ethiopia is there, then Turkey and Iran as well. So this was also a point of alignment between Iran and Israel pre 1979. Okay. Now 1979, all these reasons they came to the deposition of the Shah and they sought refuge in other countries like US and Egypt. Now what this person, he said that now we are going to establish the Islamic Republic of Iran based on the predominant Shia Muslim majority. Now this religion, now we slowly transform into the aspect of religion, why religion has become prominent. Just like the British, they sowed the seeds of division between Hindus and Muslims, because ultimately you have seen that it is ethnicity, it is the languages, it are the languages that connect, that form the foundation, the pure true connections between people. Unlike religion most often are used by the people in positions of power to establish seeds of division and disruption. Okay, so the Islamic Republic of Iran was formed. Now, one of the major contentions, most of the areas of the Arab states like Saudi Arabia in this region are Sunni majority, whereas on the other hand, Iran is Shia majority. So you might have heard that in Islam itself, there are conflicts, often conflicts between the different sects like Shia and Sunni. So this was also point of contention why Iran and Saudi Arabia, all the relations between Iran's neighboring countries, they deteriorated. And also Saudi Arabia, because of progress, because of trade alignments, it grew closer to US, the Western powers. So what happened was that this Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, he was against US and the Western capitalism or materialism. Okay. And he was not happy with some countries like Saudi Arabia, not just because of the differences in the predominant religion, but also its trade relations with US. Then Abraham Accords. Okay, so Abraham Accords, which were signed, they were also a sign of normalizing relations between Israel and other countries like Saudi Arabia. In fact, this fact I forgot to mention here when I was talking about Israel Iran relations pre 1975, when Israel was founded in 1949, in 1948, Iran was only the second Muslim majority country after Turkey to recognize Israel as an independent state. So normalizing relations with Israel. So this, and then orthodox nature we have already talked about. So all this, the conservative, one of the important doctrines or the philosophies around which Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini came to power and also is envisaged in the Iran's constitution is Velayat-e-Faqih, okay, which essentially means that a qualified Islamic jurist or cleric is supposed to rule over the state of Iran until the 12th Imam, the 12th Shia or Shia Imam returns. Okay, so this is the philosophy. So, accordingly, the supreme leader or the Ayatollah, he has control over the armed forces, then judiciary, the general politics and external affairs, the finances. Okay, so this is the Velayat-e-Faqih, which is very important. Okay, then in 19, so the first, so this was about this Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. So in 1989 till from 1979 to 89, when he was a supreme leader, this person who was recently killed, who the last supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So he took over. Earlier, he was the president of Iran during his regime. Then he took over as a supreme leader and became Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And he was recently killed. Okay. So this is the basic structure. Now, recently you might have observed that in Iran there is a contrast, drastic contrast between different people or different communities. Some people are celebrating, they are laughing, they are burning the images of the erstwhile Ayatollah with cigarette, they're dancing, they're celebrating freedom, while others, they are mourning. Okay. Now, although Ayatollah was a great symbol, a superior symbol of great importance for the Shia community, but again, just it suffered from inherent deficiencies, inherent problems, which were also responsible for the deposition or the fall of the Pahlavi dynasty. So some were the dissent. Dissent was oppressed. Freedom was. Although Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, he didn't believe in dynastic politics. He didn't want his son or the hereditary transfer of the title of supreme leader of Iran, but still dissent was controlled. Who participated in the politics, who participated in the legislature it was a tight circle between Ayatollah and his advisories. Then you must have heard of this Mahsa Amini. So in 2022, she was arrested on the alleged violation of Islamic dress code and she died in police custody. Okay, then unemployment, inflation, economic downfall. Okay, so all this. And meanwhile, if we discuss about the period from 1979 to this, it has been a period of shadow war, which Iran and Israel have been playing with each other. So this we've already discussed the jurisprudence and the Velayat-e-Faqih doctrine. Then this is representation of the IRGC, which was the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is the prime military force which was established after the Islamic Republic of Iran came to place. Okay, this connotes the axis of resistance. So there were some particular means, not direct war, but particular means in which Iran and the Western powers they confronted each other, not an outright war like the one which is happening right now. So you know about proxy militias. So Iran supports the Hezbollahs, the extremists in Lebanon, then Hamas in Gaza, then Houthis in Yemen, various Shia militias in Iraq, Then uranium enrichment program. So the main criteria till 2025 for why Trump and Netanyahu were against Iran and the deposition or the replacement of the current Iranian regime was that they fear that Iran is developing nuclear weapons, enrichment of uranium, some sites like Natanz and Fordo. Now, then shadow war, some part, you might have heard of this 2010 Stuxnet virus. So this was used by US and Israel to attack the nuclear. These are some of the important aspects why at one place the mourning of the Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini is taking place. On the other hand, some people are celebrating also because they think that they have gained some kind of freedom from oppression. Okay, so these are the contenders. Basically, this is the current president of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian. Okay, this is the chief of the judiciary right now. He is Ghulam Ghulam Hussein AG. Please forgive me for spelling mistake. Okay, so and this is Hassan Khomeini. He is the grandson of the original, the first supreme leader, that is Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. This is Mojtaba Khamenei. He is the son of the recently killed Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So these two are the top contenders if we see. Then this is Reza Pahlavi, who is the son of the erstwhile deposed Shah of Iran, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi. So he also feels that he has a chance in this structure. Now, what is interesting is how the Iranian political governance works. It is very interesting. So first of all, there is the electorate. Okay. So on paper, we can say that it is very much a democracy as well. So this electorate, it elects the president. Like I said, the president is Masoud Pezeshkian. Then the assembly of experts, then parliament. Parliament, which is also known as Majlis. Okay, 290 members. Here, assembly of experts, 88 members, 8-year terms, comprises of the top Shia clerics. Then the president and the parliament, they decide the cabinet. The parliament, it decides the guardian council, very important. And the assembly of experts, it is responsible for electing the supreme leader of Iran. Okay, and finally the supreme leader, he elects the IRGC, forms the IRGC, the chief of judiciary, then the expediency council for resolution of parliamentary or assembly disputes. Now there are some additional arrows now. So this is the basic structure. Now some important points in this. The Guardian Council, it decides who will run for the parliament and the president and the assembly of experts. And the supreme leader himself decides the Guardian Council. So this is the anomaly that we are talking about. So in a way, whoever the Guardian Council is being appointed by the Supreme Leader, and the Guardian Council, ex- after the Supreme Leader it abdicates or leaves its position, that the Guardian Council, it consists of six members, six clerics, and six members, six jurists, members of the judiciary. So only this Guardian Council can decide who will ultimately become the supreme leader if you follow the flow chart. Because they are going to, Guardian Council is going to decide who will stand for president, who will find for this position, this position, this position. And finally, this assembly of experts, okay, which is indirectly formed by the Guardian Council, although elected by the electorate, this elects the supreme leader. So you can see how the power is always concentrated. The perfect example is the, if you remember, one of the previous presidents, Hassan Rouhani. So Hassan Rouhani, he wanted to apply or stand for the supreme leader position or even the president, but this Guardian Council, it prevented the election of Hassan Rouhani. It barred him for future election. Okay, so this is the basic. Now, currently, a temporary council consisting of the chief of judiciary and some other members have been formed, and most probably out of the four or five top contenders, one will be elected soon. Now, from here, where Iran goes, it depends on several factors. Either it can go for the continuity of regime by electing a new supreme leader. But again, if a new supreme leader is elected, then it will be on the hit list of US and Israel, because ultimately Donald Trump, what he wants is the change of regime, not the continuation of the regime, because currently Netanyahu and Trump feel that the regime are not in their favor. Besides, it is ironic that the recent strikes, they came all of a sudden while negotiations were going on between Iran and Israel, Israel and US, on the points of uranium enrichment, the conduct and patrolling of the uranium sites and facilities. Why? Because of Trump's commitment plan or commitment trap. So basically, we can see that already huge military buildup had taken place. You know, already the aircraft carriers, the attack was all of a sudden. So even if they came to a resolution with Iran, it would have backfired or Trump would have been embarrassed and he would have not catered to its commitments or his MAGA base. So this is one, continuity of regime. Then the second is the military control, like in countries like Egypt and Pakistan. Okay, earlier where the military is paramount. And the third is the regime change. Regime change can occur if the people take to the streets. But Iran, as I've shown you in the map, it's a big country. And to mobilize people to stand up against the present regime, to equip them with ammunition, arms, it is a very difficult process. So we have to see where this goes. Finally, this important thing, the Strait of Hormuz and the impact, geopolitical impact on India and the world. So we have already discussed, I have told you that 20% of the oil supply, it goes through this strait, because these Gulf countries, the Middle East countries are the major producers and suppliers of oil. Now, where does India stand, and where does India stand to suffer or have a disadvantage? First of all, around 88%, India is dependent upon 88% of imports of oil for completing its needs. Okay. Out of those 88%, 50% of the crude oil it which India gets comes through this strait. That amounts to almost 2.5 to 2.7 million barrels of oil. Okay. Daily, if we see around 15 million barrels of oil, they travel through this strait. Okay. So India is a net importer of energy. And right now, we say that India is still safeguarded because it has some Russian supplies, some Russian cargo containers. They are left in the waters which were not taken because of US a fear of US sanctions, so they can be used. Then India also has developed strategic reserves of petroleum which can be used. So it is said that the refiners, Indian refineries, have a 10-day or 2-week stock which is sufficient. But besides crude oil, where India can find itself in trouble is LPG and LNG. Okay. LNG terminal gave you an example, Ras Laffan in Qatar. So LPG, basically for LPG, it depends, India depends 80% of the imports, and 60% of the LNG imports, they travel through the, which India imports, they travel to the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Then when we come to the expatriate community, that is the major, like last year in Operation Sindhu, 3597 citizens, Indian expatriates were rescued. So if I give you some stats, important stats. So in the Gulf nations, the 6 Gulf countries we are talking about, so around 9 million Indian diaspora resides or works in the Gulf nations. Okay. Out of that, 4.3 million Indian expatriates, they reside in UAE alone. This expatriate community, it comprises 35% of the total population of UAE. So you can see how important this is. Then, as far as remittances are concerned, you know, around $51.4 billion of remittances, of the total remittances which are coming from the Gulf, they are coming from this region. Okay. And then $100 billion of trade, $100 billion of trade between India and UAE. UAE is the third largest trading partner of India and the second largest export destination. Then we have quite good diplomatic relations with UAE. We have the IIT Delhi campuses and campus, and the IIM Ahmedabad campus. We have BAPS temple there. So all this makes this relation of India with the Gulf very important. And besides safeguarding the Indian expatriates or bringing them safely back to India, it is now important for India to tread carefully whenever a new regime comes into existence or a new leader is appointment. India has to tread the tightrope carefully. And all this, in summary, it is proof of the fact that the killing of just one leader or the launch of just missile, it is capable of transforming drastically the entire landscape of the globe. So till we meet again next time, Jai Hind.